Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the stream today. Got some things to discuss. The first thing we're going to be doing today, talking about Deal or No Deal Island. My plan is, for those watching on YouTube, for me to essentially take this probably like 40 or so minutes on Deal or No Deal Island. And then end the YouTube stream, so that's its own video, and then I'll start it back up for the Survivor watch party, which will happen very shortly. That is the plan today. It is what we plan to do. So, if you don't want to be spoiled on Deal or No Deal Island, beware. We will be discussing the results. The finale aired, I think it was last night. I'm usually watching slightly delayed. But what a weird show. I just genuinely found it to be a very strange show, and I'm not sure why it exists. That is my main takeaway from Deal or No Deal Island, if we're being honest. I apologize. I'm just tweeting some things out here. Okay. Shelly, thank you for the 21st. Tilly with 32 in a row. Thank you both there. So the Peacock is developing an amazing race-like show. Dan Memphis, Brenchel are supposed to be on it. Oh boy. I don't know. I heard I haven't looked into it. I heard there's like a Netflix show that's trying to do like a traders kind of deal. I know they just did they just announced this other one. Proud, thank you for the 30-second. But Deal or No Deal Island. $1 Million Secret. Is that what it is? I'll just continue to get distracted. Here. $1 Million Secret. Netflix branded Shameless after premiere of note for note ripoff of the traders. Interesting. Well, this is a great... The concept is almost identical to the traders. Okay, but what do you mean? Okay, the concept. What about the game? In each of the rooms is a mysterious gift box which they have to unlock. Only one of the boxes contains the $1 million prize. The job of the contestants is to sniff out who they think the millionaire is via a group vote every night. If the millionaire is successfully identified, they're eliminated. The prize money. That's not a near identical copy. Come on. That's actually kind of a fun concept. I actually think that sounds like a better game. I might actually have to watch that. Okay. Anyway. Deal or No Deal Island. Let me pull up a visual if I can. Deal or No Deal Island. This is the show. This is what we're talking about. So I assume that most people here have watched it or are aware of it, but in case you're not, I would say, first of all, you don't need to watch it. I don't think that you are missing out if you just want to tangentially be aware of the events of Deal or No Deal Island because you're interested in some of the players. Um, it might be worth checking out if you want to just like, you could probably consume it via clips. And have a good time. It's very Traders-esque without as many high points, in the sense that like many of the challenges feel kind of lame. And especially like the place where it really falls flat is well, let me just explain, I guess, the general premise of Deal or No Deal Island, because this is the sort of thing that like I'm genuinely surprised that it exists. And I haven't looked into like the ratings for it, but you know, they're giving away a lot of money here. So, and I have to imagine they're paying a lot of money to get the likes of Dr. Will to show up. So, you know, if a show like Dondi can, you know, can shell out this much money, then what is CBS doing? You know what I mean? It's done well on Peacock. So anyway, basic premise, and I've only watched the second season. I didn't even watch the first season. I was doing what I was saying before. I was basically just kind of like generally aware of what happened in the first season. I will, I guess, loosely spoil it now, in case you don't want to hear first season spoilers. But I just know that Boston Rob made it far, but didn't win. And that he was pretty entertaining on it, basically. The only reason I really checked it out this time around was that I heard Dr. Will was going to be on. Richie, thank you for the 48th. Dr. Will, of course, being the legend, the Big Brother legend from season 2, the first real season of the show, and Big Brother All Stars, the original season of All Stars. His first real appearance on a competition game show since his appearance on All Stars, which was in 2006, I believe. So, you know, nearly 20 years of distance. Now, we saw Dan take about a 10-year gap from Big Brother 14 to his Traders season 2 appearance, and that was fairly disappointing overall. So I was interested to see how Dr. Will would fare. I would say generally that like I didn't think that the Traders was going to be Dan's thing, and so I wasn't super hopeful. Whereas I had no idea what to expect with Dondi, and so I wasn't super hopeful with Dr. Will either. But Dr. Will, at the very least, I think will like would my anticipation was that he would at least make more of a show, crashing and burning, than Dan probably did. Kenna, thank you, or Biscuits, thank you for the 26th. So anyway, that's why I watched it. The basic premise is 12, 13 people. I don't know how many people. There's a cast, you know, reality show cast. They do these competitions every round. And the competitions vary, but they usually have to do with briefcases and getting the highest briefcase. And if you get the highest briefcase, then you are safe and you get to choose somebody. It's a little challenge-esque in that sense. Sammy, thank you for the 10th month. So basically the winner of the challenge is safe and chooses a person to compete against the banker for elimination. Very challenge-esque again in that way, except instead of competing against each other, you're competing against the banker. And then there's other ways to win immunity, and sometimes there's only a certain amount of people vulnerable. But basically, if you are chosen, if you are eliminated by the winner of the competition, then you go, and it's really not eliminated because sometimes facing the banker is actually a better place to be. You play Deal or No Deal, basically, is the elimination challenge. And this is this is where the show really falters, because they spend usually a decent amount of time on the players playing Deal or No Deal, for not for actual money, but to be eliminated or not. So the idea is that if you make a good deal, then you are safe and you choose somebody to just be eliminated straight up. And if you make a bad deal, you are eliminated. And there is like, oh, well, the number you end up with in Deal or No Deal adds to the prize pool theoretically in the end for the winner. So there's a few weird things about this. Deal or No Deal, if you don't know that, because this is like a game show that has been reality TV-ified, is the show where there's like 20 briefcases, you pick one, and then you start eliminating some, and then you get an offer from the banker to just like give up and take their offer, or you can keep eliminating until you just have like your case left and you just decide to go with your case or whatever it is. And your case might have like $1 million or it might have like 50 cents. So the idea is that in order to make a good deal in the elimination challenge, you have to either accept a banker offer that is higher than the number in your case, or you have to run it down to the end and have a case that is bigger than the final two remaining numbers on the board. So what that means is playing the banker is always baseline a 50-50 shot. If you do nothing else, if you just take one case, eliminate all the other cases, and there's just two cases left, the one you picked and the final remaining one that you haven't eliminated, you have a 50% chance that you have the higher one in your possession. Baseline. That's your worst case scenario. But it's actually a lot better than that, because oftentimes the banker will give you an offer that is higher than the majority of the cases left on the board. I wish I had visuals right now. It would probably be easier for me to explain this. But basically, if you have, say, a $500,000, or let's say you have like what's like the middle value, probably like $100,000 or something. You have like $100,000, but like most of the really big numbers, like $1 million, $5 million, all of the big numbers have been eliminated. But there's like $1 million case left. And then there's like a ton of really small numbers, 25 cents, $75, $250, tons of those. Let's say there's like 6 small values and maybe like 2 big values left. The banker is going to give you an offer with the fear of like, oh, their case might be one of the 2 big ones. Let's say like 100,000, 500,000. I'm not going to give them like an offer of $75 because that's in the middle of the thing. I'm going to give them an offer that's like $50,000, and it's bigger than like 5 of the other small offers and only smaller than 2 of the offers. So now all of a sudden your odds of making a good deal are significantly higher. And so you can get up to, I think I saw like a 75% chance of making a good deal in the elimination challenge. So, and you can just keep waiting until you get a good chance all the way down to, there's no real strategy or decision in it, because you can just keep waiting until your odds are like at least 66 to 75%, or fail safe, it's 50%. Like that's not bad. So in a lot of instances, it was better to actually go and face the banker yourself, because your odds would be higher if you knew exactly who the person would eliminate. If you knew that the person playing would eliminate you, then it was better to actually play yourself, because your odds would be better that you would win, that whoever plays wins. So I say all this to explain that none of what I just explained, and maybe for good reason because it was a little wordy, none of what I explained is in the show. None of it. They are forced to pretend that none of that exists. And that every time they play the elimination Deal or No Deal, they're just looking for the high numbers. They're just trying to add to the prize pool. You know, that's the goal. And I say pretend, but many of them actually do that. Many of them turn down great odds in favor of smaller odds because it's not the right thing to do to get the highest number in a situation where the highest number has almost no value to you whatsoever. So there are people who play the game who seemingly have no concept of like the odds of the game and how to even play the game, which is frustrating by itself. But even the people that do understand it are, in my understanding, explicitly told by production, you have to pretend. You have to act like this is not what you want. That you have to act like you're trying to play the game the proper way, which makes no sense, and it makes the segment so much worse. Because very clearly you recognize that if you eliminate high numbers, exactly as Katakuri is saying here, if you eliminate high numbers early, they go, oh no, the high numbers, we're going to get a lower offer. It's way better for you because the more high numbers are gone, the more likely you are to get a deal, an offer that's higher than many of the small numbers. And if you eliminate a bunch of small numbers, they're like, yeah, we got 50 cents off the board. Let's go. They're like, oh yes, they're cheering. But all that does is create a scenario where the offer is likely to be lower. There are, I talked about the offers could be up to like 75% chance that you get a good deal. They also go the other direction. If you eliminate a bunch of low offers and you have only the high ones, then the dealer is not going to give you a big like $750,000 offer. They're going to give you a pretty low offer. And the odds of you being eliminated are going to be much higher if you take that offer. So that offer is useless. So they have these scenarios, and the most entertaining version of this that they had was Dr. Will when he did it, because he didn't play ball. Because not only as pointed out in the chat already, not only is it like a situation where they're like having to pretend like, oh, this is what I want, this is what I want. They also have to like give a reason for picking each number, basically. They don't always give a reason for every number, but they often give a reason for the numbers they're picking. And it's the most mind-numbingly boring thing. Like, well, Joe, you see, my sister's daughter's best friend once flipped 5 coins and it came up 3 heads. So also, and that number means a lot to me because it's also my mom's birthday month. And so for that reason, I'm going to pick the number 3. And it's just like, what are we doing here? It's completely random. So Dr. Will goes up and he just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. And it's so much better. And he doesn't bother with dumb excuses. And he fully just plays like the clear odds that you're supposed to play. It was just wild to me that like, I get frustrated with the traders often with how they have to like pretend like people aren't playing the game in the way that it clearly is designed to be played, in the sense that they haven't, successfully designed it to be played in the way that they want it to be played. It's designed to be played in a different way. So the players don't always play it in that way. So they have to pretend that they do, or that they don't. So that there's that whole situation. And it's weird that this exists is the main thing. However, in this season, we saw Dr. Will play. He was very fun. And we saw Parvati and David from Australian Survivor. JV, thank you for the 16th month. And to be honest, this is one of my favorite versions of Parvati that I've seen on a show. I thought she was just like having a good time out there. She was just like using little tricks here and there to be immune. She was immune for like most of the season. And then just gets unfortunately just unlucky in like the final Deal or No Deal thing. But then you have David from Australian Survivor, very vocal about the fact that he considers himself to be, and that he thinks that other people consider him to be the greatest Survivor player of all time, the Golden God. And he's phenomenal. He's fantastic on this show. It's very funny to watch. Basically, nobody know that he played Survivor. Parvati keeps his secret. And so they all think he's just like this big dumb model, and him and Parvati basically just like wreck shop. I mean, let me be clear about this. They could have done much better. They could have been way more secretive about their alliance. They really like put themselves in a much stickier position than they ever needed to be. Like the level at which they seemed to be like playing. It seemed like they were not trying that hard, which is wild considering that at the end of this season, the prize money is larger than any other reality show by a margin of like at least over 2x. Like Survivor Winners at War was $2 million. David comes away with 5.8 playing this game. You'd think that people would be way more like invested. Now, granted, he could have come away with like $75. So like, it's basically just like one big audition to play a round of Deal or No Deal. That is like a big game, like a big game of Deal or No Deal. But still, I mean, it's interesting to me that like the Traitors has become this like breeding ground for all of the big name reality people. I have to imagine that after the result of this season, who in their right mind would not want to do Deal or No Deal Island? It is a cheat code right now. Like they are putting a couple of legends with a bunch of fish, a bunch of people who just, I'm sorry, I liked some of them, don't know what they're doing, are basically incapable of eliminating these big names. It's a free shot at getting to pretty close to the end and then having a great chance at playing Deal or No Deal Island. Like, and the amount of money you can win is so much more than the Traitors. And listen, I think the Traitors, I would imagine they pay more, probably, but I honestly don't even know. Just to be there, I mean. But it's also like just a way less stressful situation to be in. You just get to chill like on a beach for probably like a week or whatever. Danny, 580 bits in honor of the Golden God, David. It's just wild. It's just wild that David playing Deal or No Deal Island made more money than than 11 winners of Big Brother US before the prize money increase combined. Dr. Will played this game. Dr. Will played the game with David. David, in that season, won more than 11 times the amount of money that Dr. Will won in season 2. Now, granted, inflation probably cuts into that, but it's wild. Also, just so this is how it worked. So they got to the final 3. Parvati got unlucky with the final bit. She had been targeted for a while because they were really not secretive enough with their alliance. Gets unlucky with the final deal or no deal elimination. David gets into the final 3. Jill, I think the 21st. And they do this really weird final challenge where it's basically like eliminated players get to choose who wins. It's a little bit of a jury vote, but only half of them, weirdly, and seemingly randomly. So it's this final obstacle course. The obstacle course portion of it basically doesn't matter, at least in the way that it played out, because you just have to not be last. And if you're a guy like David, you're never gonna be last. But the more important part was like who gets the highest value cases. So on each platform, they had 2 eliminated players. One gave out one of 3 cases that they knew the values for, and the other could help them with the challenge. The helping with the challenge, I think, was almost completely pointless, at least how it played out in this season. Almost completely pointless. The jury vote of that player, significantly less than the jury vote of like the people giving out the value of the cases. So, I mean, pretty unlucky for David that Parvati is not somebody giving out a case, and instead it's a person that, like, it's Philip, who was like not a fan of David, and really, really messed up, quite frankly. Now, it did lead to a scenario where, like, this is where David, I think, really earned the win, is that, like, he just read each person correctly. Basically, he had the relationships to be given the high case with 2 of them, and then with the third one, with Philip, who I don't think wanted to give him the high case, tried to pull off this move of like, are you going to trust my word? Here's the case I've chosen for you. And he had pulled that off with CK. And then she chose a different one. And he was going to be like, I was being honest and you didn't trust me. But David saw straight through it. He was like, I'll take it. And Letty's pissed. Because, and I, quite frankly, I would be too. People are kind of dogging on Letty. And in part for good reason, because I'm not on board with everything she's saying, but like, if my ally screwed it up that bad, and then I go on to see, because of that, my competitor ends up winning $5.8 million, I'm going to be salty. I'm going to be a little salty about that. I am. So there's two kind of main counter arguments. The first one is that because she was basically like, Philip, like, please help me. Please give them the low cases. And the first counter argument is, well, he wasn't intentionally giving David the high case. He thought he was tricking David. My disagreement, and I think that's fair, but what I would say to that is that, like, by giving him a "do you trust me" scenario, you're making it more likely that he's going to get the high case. Think about it this way. If you tell David that, say, the middle case or the low case is the one that you think he should take, there's now a chance he either is, these odds are basically made up, but like 50-50 odds that he believes you, that he thinks, okay, I think you're either trying to trick me or you're actually giving me the real case. And so you either pick it or you don't. If he doesn't trust you, if he trusts you and he picks it, boom, you got him. You just gave Letty the win. If he doesn't trust you and he doesn't pick it, doesn't work, he still only has a 50-50 shot at the other two cases. So that's just not a good place to be in general. You could, if you wanted to, if you were really worried that David could read you, you could just say, I'm not going to say a thing, and force him to draw 33%. That's another viable strategy. I think one of the worst strategies in trying to get somebody to not pick the high case is telling them this is the high case. And so if I lost $5.8 million because my ally wanted to be able to say that they were honest and tried to use that trick, I'd be like, I'm so mad at you. The other main counter argument, this is one I agree with much more, is this idea that like, well, I played an honest game and David didn't, and therefore I deserved it more. And Philip, so on and so forth. I wanted Philip to lie, so that I could benefit. And that's come on. That's what are we doing here? Nobody's better than anybody else on these shows. You're all just playing the same game, and if you start trying to moralize it, that's on you. Yeah, you should be proud of him for being so honest, right? So David wins. He plays Deal or No Deal. This is the only Deal or No Deal that like actually matters. How it works is that all of the money that they've won in the elimination Deal or No Deals is added to a single case. And then there's like a $3 million or $2 million. There's like $4 or $5 million cases. And then there's like a bunch of small ones. And I mean, the stars aligned. Genuinely, the fact that this happened is pretty unlikely. And I have to imagine the reason why this show exists, because they didn't expect something like this. Granted, this was much better television than I think like a lot of different versions of this could have been, which is that like people end up with such a small amount of money at the end of this whole thing. But I think the Traders has shown that nobody really cares, except they make such a big deal of it that you kind of do. But basically, so there's one case that's the culmination of all the prize money from the elimination Deal or No Deals, and it's $12 million. And you basically just like can't pick that case. The second you pick that case, you're winning significantly less money. And this lucky this lucky dude manages to pick every other case on the entire board. Medusa, thank you for the 40th. Every other one. Except for the 12 million. So he chooses one, and I think it's the $75 or something. And then he chooses every other case except for the 12 million. Ash, thank you for the 12. Like just the odds of that are really low. So he's playing. I'm going to tell you exactly what would have happened for me. He gets an offer of about $1 million at a point where I think there was like only 1 million and 12 million left. Something around those lines. I would have at the very least heavily considered taking that, if not just straight up taking it. Because basically at that point I can take home $1 million, and in most scenarios, like that is about the maximum I can get. Because the second I drop the 12 million, my offers are going down, and the maximum I can get is 1 million anyway. But at that point, I have to hope I have the million, because, you know, you're not offering me 1 million when 1 million is the max. But it's understandable that you might want to take some more risks, because you do have some options left in terms of like narrowing down the cases. And as long as the 12 million is up there, the offer is going to continue to go up. The issue is this guy removes all of the millions. And so all that's left is like, you know, $75, $25, $250. I think it was those, like, it was those three plus like the 12 million. And his offer at this point is like 3 million. Or maybe it's like 2.5. I don't remember. Now, at this point, yes, you theoretically have a 75% chance to not hit the 12 million. And your offer goes up. But the offer's not like, I'm not rich enough to know this. But in my mind, the difference between 3 million and 4 million is not that significant. like once you have that amount of money, it's like 1 more million, I can take it or leave it. You know what I mean? When I should specify, when the alternative is you lose everything. So it's like, yes, you could win an extra million in a deal, or if you end up hitting that 25%, you lose the 12 million, your offer shoots down to like $250. It's all or nothing at that point. I'm taking that deal every single day of the week. You literally could not pay me enough to take more risks at that point. I am not losing out on $3 million in the hope that I can get one more. That's ridiculous. And he does it because here's the thing. The idea that you might double that money, maybe, right? And your odds are not that bad. You've got like 75%, and then you've got 66%. The problem is you have to do it twice to double your money. And that's just not good enough, I think. Like you take that $3 million, like you can just like turn that into as much money as you need for the rest of your life. Like, you have to get through 2 more rounds for that number to double. And he does it. He goes 2 more rounds. And the offer goes up to 5.8. After taxes, it's probably, taxes probably takes like half. ish. Maybe a little less. Also, depending, I mean, he's Australian. I don't know exactly. No. I don't know exactly how it works. I'm sure Australia wants a cut. I think the place where the company is based out of probably has some fingers in that pie. And then like where, I mean, I think where he lives, his home probably matters. Like yeah, because I think he's currently living in the US, but certainly it matters. But still, you know, you pay that tax once and then it's just um Australian filmed in Panama would owe zero. But if he lives in the US at the time, and it's a it's a US based company, I bet he's paying a decent amount of taxes on that. But ultimately he gets to the final thing and it's $12 million or like 250. And I mean, yeah, you just you have to take the 5.8, and he does, and it's the right call. 75. Yeah, 75. Because at that point, your odds are actually not better. Like at that point, you could go, you know, put that all on red and double your money, and you have basically the same odds. Like this is no longer a unique scenario where for a coin flip I can double my money or lose it all. You can do that anywhere you want. So there's just no reason. There's just no reason to take that, to not take the deal at that point. But listen, I'm happy you won. I was like, I was rooting for him. I thought it was very fun to watch. He has made me want to watch his seasons of Australian Survivor. And I'm more excited to watch Australia versus the World or whatever it's called. Where he will be competing alongside Parvati and Suri and a bunch of other Survivor players. I think curiously, interestingly, after they filmed this. So the relationship between him and Parvati exists. She also knows that he just walked away with 5.8 million. She kept his secret on Dondi. And so here's the thing. I got the vibe that they were doing Dondi as sort of a like precursor to Survivor, the more serious show that they cared more about. But that is the wild thing about it. On Australian Survivor, he won $500,000 Australian, which is less than 11 times lower than what he just won on Dondi. It's wild that they will probably take Survivor more seriously than they will this big, all-star showdown of Survivor. But the prize money will be a fraction, a small fraction, less than 10% of what he just won on this show. Wild stuff. So, I mean, here's the thing. I have no loyalty whatsoever to this format. I have no plans to watch season 3 unless they have another, they need at least 2 to 3 big names that I care about. Like Boston Rob by himself was not enough for me to watch season 1. I don't need to watch Boston Rob like, herd a bunch of completely new, players. I did start just skipping through the Dondi part at the end of every episode eventually. Oh, also, I wanted to mention, they spoiled their own show so much. Can we talk about that? I don't have much time left before Survivor, but like, I knew he was gonna win. Quite frank, I knew that whoever won this season was going to win more than $5 million before the season started, because they told you that that was going to happen. And then this is a little bit more inside baseball, but like during the episode, even if you started to doubt, they keep going, the biggest prize money in network television history. It's the biggest prize pool in network television history. Because I'm sure they added the network in post, because at the time they filmed this, it was the biggest in history. But then Mr. Beast came in and somebody coin flipped over there, and they gave away, not to spoil Beast games, but they end up giving away $10 million on Beast games. But that's not network, that's streaming. But so like it was just so clear that like they were gonna win. There was all this like stuff about that. It was somebody was gonna win that much money, and then in the edit I thought was pretty clear. Like it felt like David was just getting a ton of good content. And then like on top of that, it was like they kept I kept seeing people like, oh well, they accidentally spoiled who gets booted in the cliffhanger. So many cliffhangers, stupid. And then okay, there's also this weird thing at the end. The banker. I don't remember it. Chrissy Teigen, was that her name? That was just weird. I did not understand that. They were like hyping up like, who's the banker? It's a she. And then out walks Chrissy Teigen, I think. And everyone's like, whoa! And I'm like, who is this? And they explained she was like on the show. She was like one of the openers. But I just feel like I'm missing a lot of context there that they did not explain. And then I don't really understand what her purpose was there either. It was just weird. Just weird. Married to John Legend. I'm wrong for this. I know who John Legend is. I don't know who his wife is, you know? Anyway. That's about a couple of, we'll do some final questions before I wrap up the Deal or No Deal talk, and then we'll get into Survivor. Howie Mandel makes sense. If Dan said he's doing Donde, am I in? Of course. That's what I mean. Like, I mean, I guess there are a few people, if they were the sole person there, that I would tune in for. But generally, I need at least two of them. I need to see them interacting. You know what I mean? I just can't imagine this show existing without reality stars from other shows. But can you imagine? Could you imagine? What a weird season. Thoughts on Amazing Race 38 being spoiled as they film? That's pretty normal, isn't it? And then with such a high profile cast, I feel like that happens with the challenge too. Like it just gets spoiled so immediately. Twitter's cluttered with people spoiling. Oh boy. Well, I'm going to do my best to avoid it. But I will be watching for sure. I am more excited to watch Australia versus the World. Following the Discord where the spoilers are is actually really fun. I can imagine it being a fun show to like be an investigator on. Because well, I guess I shouldn't talk about it too much because I don't want to invite spoilers here. But my understanding is that a lot of it comes from just like people seeing out in the wild. I feel like a lot of it usually comes in the U.S. But like just people out in the world, just like spotting people doing the amazing race. I might check out $1 Million Secret. I think the format seems a little better. Yeah, definitely be wary of potential spoilers there. All right. Well, that's Deal or No Deal. That's going to be the end of the YouTube video / stream. I'm going to end the YouTube stream. I'm going to restart the YouTube stream for the Survivor watch party so that there's a bit of a delineation there for people that want to watch one or the other. So if you're watching along on YouTube right now, I think you can probably just like refresh my channel and find the new live link. I think that's how it will work. If you go to like the live tab. But that is it for now. I'll be switching over to Survivor. Hopefully we get a good episode. Let me know what you think about Deal or No Deal in the comments of the video, I guess. And see you for Survivor.